Hey there, Navandis here with some quick Atlas strategy tips and a few mechanics which I think most people are still sleeping on that could really help you get more currency in 3.18. Now, before you roast me for the clickbait title, here's the Atlas passive, which I genuinely believe is the most broken of the lot, considering what it does and how little investment it requires. Packed with energy, you get 35% increased damage, 15% movement speed and +1 to maximum elemental resistances for each sulfide pile you click in a map. As each map spawns 3 of these sulfide piles, the actual bonuses provided by this passive are 105% increased damage, 45% movement speed and +3 to all maximum resistances. Just think about what that means. That's more movement speed than a Quicksilver Flask, the damage equivalent of 3 notable passives and as much resistance as a friggin' lore weave. Now I know you won't immediately find the piles when you enter each map, but in my experience you'll get at least 2 piles in less than 30 seconds into a map, and the smaller the map the quicker that happens. Besides, once you find the first one you already get a nice efficiency boost and accelerate towards the second pile. And the funny thing is, this buff doesn't have a duration and it isn't removed even if you die and go back into the map. It's also not removed when you go into a Conqueror or Guardian arena, because those are considered part of the same area as the map. Free 105% increased damage and +3 max res against Veritania? Hell yeah, I'll take it. On the Atlas tree, the passive is located really convenient, practically connected to the path most people take to the upper side. It's pretty much standard to take these shrine nodes, then move on the right side, avoiding the useless Kirak wheel in the center. It's also right next to the harvest wheel with bumper crop passive, arguably the best harvest node on the tree, and next to the new league mechanic block passives. So realistically the cost for taking packed with energy is 2 points. Very likely if you'll open your current Atlas tree, you'll find you're already pathing through there. As for triggering it, well, it's very simple. Rusted sulfide scarabs have always been dirt cheap and I can't see them jumping in price unless everyone suddenly starts using packed with energy. Last league I've been paying 1 Chaos Orb for 5, 6, even 7 sulfide scarabs in bulk, and while overall we might get fewer scarabs in 3.18, I can't imagine them being way more expensive, and even at 1 C per scarab I still think it's worth it. Beyond scarabs there are of course Nico missions as well, you'll keep getting them naturally as you complete maps. Now you also have all this sulfite lying around, and while you could, I don't know, leave it for Nico to snort it or whatever shady things he does with it, here's why you should really consider delving and how that can have a major impact on your overall Atlas strategy. Oh, and before I go any further, just to clarify, I'm not talking about deep delving at any point in this video. That's a completely different beast with its own specific strategies and a very high entry barrier. Okay, so what I'm describing now is average Joe delve and chill 200 to 300 depth range. Right, so normal delving doesn't require any kind of prep work and it can be done with any build able to run Alch and Go maps. Now, think about running stuff like Heist. You need to level up your rogues, gear them up, find or buy the blueprints, roll them, and only after that you get to run them. Nothing like that with Delve. You go in, run a few nodes, go out. Also, there are no doors in Delve, fuck doors, and you blow up any walls yourself, not waiting on some geriatric lunatic to do it. Anyway, on top of that, delving takes literally 0 Atlas passives, like not even packed with energy. That's not needed for delving in any way, it's just great bonuses for mapping and getting more value out of your sulfide scarabs or Nico missions. Again, think about heisting or expeditions or blight maps and stuff like that. You need around 10-15 passives for each to sustain and run them efficiently. And let's be clear, I'm not saying Delve is better or more profitable than those mechanics, although I will go over how to make some really good currency with delving in a bit, but you can run Delve on top of those without having to split your Atlas points or being forced to choose between either or. Just think of Delve as your side hustle, low effort, decent money making, working remotely part-time job. Now, before I explain how to make that sweet cash, if you've never delved before or you aren't familiar with its mechanics, then you should really check out my basic delve guide. Either click on that I thing in the upper right corner or follow the link in the pinned comment. Okay, so the first basic thing you can do, which is only really worth it in the first 2-3 days of a new league, is the Chaos Recipe, aka vendoring a full set of rare items with item level 60 or higher. If you've done this before, you surely know that the bottleneck is always jewelry, rings, amulets, belts. Well, see those nodes that conveniently say contains jewelry? You'll get plenty of rare ones there, and if you somehow run out of weapons or armors, then there are of course similar nodes for those. Now this is obviously just a quick currency injection when you've just started a new league, but it can be great seed capital to buy a few gear pieces and get your build going. Then you have the items that most people associate Delve with, fossils and resonators. These will always sell well, with a few staples like perfect, sanctified, shuddering, corroded or bound being used in huge amounts by crafters. Just be smart about it and sell them in bulk rather than a few at a time. If you've ever tried to buy 20 pieces of something one by one, whispering 100 people only to get 2 or 3 trades done, then you understand why PoE players will pay more for bulk trades. For example, last league I constantly sold stacks of 20 bound fossils for 120-130 chaos orbs, while selling them one by one I would have made 60 to 80 chaos max. And while resonators are somewhat cheaper, demand for them is always high because fossils are useless without them. Now once you start going above Dev 200, you'll notice more and more of the rarer fossil nodes like Molten Cavity, which guarantees a faceted fossil, or Humid Fissure dropping a fractured fossil. These can be sold in smaller quantities as they fetch significantly higher prices. The rule of thumb with Delve is that the deeper you go, the less generic nodes will spawn, and instead they'll be replaced by higher value ones. While the mobs will be stronger as well, if your character can handle red maps, then it should manage depth 200-150. And for the average build with average gear, that depth is the sweet spot for speed versus rewards. But even after depth 100, you'll start noticing more and more of these Delve cities, and these are pretty much always worth running. They're a fantastic source of raw currency and maps, and it's not uncommon to get even 10-15 maps from a single node. In fact, at around depth 200 they'll mostly drop red maps, and in 3.17 like 90% of my maps came from Delve. I never had to buy any map and didn't need to spend a single atlas point on map nodes like those shaping the skies or shaping the seas, and had absolutely zero issues with map sustain. And that is yet again important for saving lots of atlas points, which you can invest in other stuff, especially now that we'll need more for those block mechanic X nodes. There are of course also these regular cartography nodes all across Delve for even more maps with depth dictating their tier. Not only that, but these nodes and the chest inside Delve cities also drop a metric ton of chisels, sextants, orbs of horizon, basically all the atlas currency you will need for atlas completion and farming. The Delve cities can also spawn bosses instead of the regular nodes, with a chance increasing the deeper you go. Unfortunately, only the loot from All is worth anything, but he can drop some really expensive stuff, like Crown of the Tyrant Helm and Uzaza's Valley Ring usually go for 2 or 3x, while the All's Uprising Amulet can fetch up to 20 or 30 Exalted Orbs depending on the aura mode it rolls with. Clearly not a constant source of currency, but you can hit a jackpot with a big ticket item. Finally, there are these specialty nodes that contain a certain type of item, like contains fire items or contains minions items. Those will drop related fossils and essences, but more importantly, rare items with special mods like Curse on hit rings. For example, a contains fire items node will usually drop flammability on hit rings. While many of those will be garbage, it's not uncommon to get some really good ones you can sell for lots of currency or even use yourself. So look, all in all, Delve can actually be a really decent source of currency you can run on top of your other main farming strategy. It doesn't require any investment or prep work, it can be done in very short sessions, in and out quickly, and it's a good break from just mapping or running the same thing over and over again. And if you end up liking it a lot, you can give deep delving a go and ramp up the income.
Learn anything new, Exile?